Hi, this is Robert Classy. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Tony Figueroa and Donna Allen are with us as they bring us This Week in TV History. And Tony's segment, as always, is brought to us by our friends at Story Salon, Southern California's longest-running, regularly performing live storytelling ensemble. For more information, go to storysalon.com. What do you have for us tonight?
Since we are bringing up controversial media figures
And people who back up their opinions and live by the courage of their convictions.
November 15th, 1929, Ed Asner was born.
I hate spunk.
Yeah, and we've talked about those actors that are known for one thing. He did that one character on two different shows and had
successfully
two completely incarnations. And we talked about this last year with Jennifer Armstrong. He had to tone down the I hate spunk because he was a dramatic actor.
Yeah.
And so it was a little more, he had never played comedy before, if I remember correctly. And so he had to tone it down so that it would be funny because his initial interpretation was almost scary.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, I imagine he must have done some sitcom prior.
Well,
but
some
maybe,
comedy somewhere.
I'm sure on
stage.
He's done
comedy on
he did some
stage.
comedy, but
it's.
But
it's
no,
not
this is a man
registering.
who was mostly known for doing QM shows, for doing
Yes.
for doing all the
doing
dramatic
that
shows
with a live audience is also a little different. So I'm thinking he may have played comedy on film, but not with a live audience there,
right, which is completely different.
Yeah, and so very different.
And that was the basis for why they had to reshoot that and have him tone it down.
Yeah, it's but it's like
it did not test well.
It did not test well, but I mean, it is really his most memorable line.
Yeah.
You sometimes are introduced to characters, and you have to see these characters develop, and eventually they get that catchphrase, or you kind of figure out maybe mid-season 1 or start of season 2 they're really taking off. Here's a character that who he is. You read so much in that one line.
Yeah.
And there's very few characters that.
Ed's calling you right now.
Yeah, Ed's calling me right now. My new phone is like dancing on the table. No, but I think, you take somebody like him or like a Judd Hirsch when he introduced himself to Elaine in the pilot episode of Taxi. You know pretty much everything you needed to know about that guy from his, I'm just a cab driver. Yeah, and far from. But anyway, Ed Asner, somebody that has a great deal in the history of television as president of the Screen Actors Guild, his political activities off camera. He's somebody to study. Talking about controversial people
to this day.
To this day, you look at we were alluding to Rosie O'Donnell and Elizabeth Hasselbeck and people that would say things and get reactions. That's like, okay, if you're a celebrity and you have opinions and you're going to express your opinions, let's study Ed Asner. Yeah. Good, bad, indifferent, and look at not only how he expresses himself, but consequences to some of his opinions.
He lost his show.
He lost his show because, William Paley did not want him on his network anymore after his opinions about our involvement with El Salvador. Right. And, we remember better how he got fired than actually what he said. But, he was on the fall schedule, and William Paley said, get that show off my network. And the story is he's looking at a wall with all the shows stuck on the schedule, and he wanted that gone.
Would that happen today, especially if you had a show that was pulling the ratings and the advertising dollars?
That's a good question.
Well, he would have some place to go.
He would have a lot of places to go, but I'm not. I don't think there are a lot of people like that.
No, and you're right about that.
I just don't think there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah, Ed Asner has always been a man who I admire, not only as an actor, but for his outspokenness.
Yeah.
Had an opportunity to meet him. I was staring at him. And he looked at me and he smiled, and I've been caught. And when I said, Mr. Asner, I've always wanted to meet you. And he said, what is your name? And I said, my name is Don. He said, I'm Ed Asner. I said, it is a pleasure. And he just melted. And I felt like, yeah, for a whole second I allowed myself to be talking to Mr. Grant before I returned to Ed Asner. And I've rarely done anything like that in my life, but that was the one time I made sure I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before there was a Second City in Hollywood, that group had other incarnations. With Viola Spolin, who is credited really with creating that form of acting, the improvisational style, and it had a couple of different incarnations before it was known as Second City, and Ed Asner was part of that. So he was there.
That answers the question.
Yes.
Yeah. Comedy background.
Yes, he does.
So he does have a comedy background, and especially in improv comedy, especially when you're doing comedy that is often inspired by current events. So you had a lot of people. Valerie Harper was part of that group, and Alan Arkin, and so these guys, and there's probably no video, but I know there's audio of some of the stuff that they did. And he was very, very funny with that. And, the first time I saw him, I was working a radio event where he was promoting whatever project he was currently working on, and there would just be table after table after table after table of different radio personalities from all over North America. And some of them were broadcasting live. Some of them were broadcasting, to tape. They were recording to tape, and it would be airing live. So because you're dealing with the different time zones, he might be talking to the morning maniacs, at one table, and then he might be talking to the drive time people at another table. And to see him with whatever morning maniac team from who knows where in the country, and he was so in his element. Yeah. They could throw stuff, and he would throw it right back. And he looked like he was having so much fun. And he's old enough to be their grandfather. And to see whatever, irreverent, nothing would shock him. Just they would be throwing all the jokes, the frat party, type stuff. And he was so good at those interviews, and I'm sure he was much more comfortable than if he was sitting on the couch talking to, a talk show, a host.
I've done a few of those satellite type of things where you go from one form to another, and it's non-stop. I mean, it's several hours at it. It's an art form.
Yes,
it's an art form. I mean, and the way to do it, I don't know at least for me, the way to do it is try to get an idea of what demo. What type of shift, so that you can shift gears.
Yes.
And but again, it is an art form. Down here,
it's also like speed dating because you basically have a stopwatch around your neck.
Yeah.
And
5 or 7 minutes to get your points in, and then move on.
Yeah, and then you go to the next table, and to see he was a master at that. It really was amazing.
Down here in the Los Angeles market, he is still heard on at least on most of the AM stations down here. He's a spokesman for a solar energy company.
Yes, which Larry Hagman was pitching that
Larry
a
Hagman
little.
Was, before he died as well.
And the oil man selling solar energy.
Solar energy, shine, baby, shine.
Yeah,
but again, I mean, they were depending on sometimes he just does a straight, 60-second spot. Sometimes the format would be Ed in conversation with the
host.
local news anchor, and it would be like a 30-second give and take where he's hitting his talking points, but you do it in such a way as if he's in conversation, which I think is some of the most effective ways.
That's an art form.
Stephanie Miller, who's syndicated all over, when she did segments here, and she's a comedian, and they did the whole thing like it was shtick.
Yeah.
And she obviously had some talking points, some questions. He answered the questions, but he was still this grumpy old curmudgeon, and it's very effective. The ad, played for a long time.
He will always be Lou Grant in not one but two different television series. But my favorite role, second to that, was his role as Santa Claus. In Elf, I think that is the best interpretation of Santa Claus on film ever.
I'll have to watch
Santa Claus as a curmudgeon.
I'll have to watch that.
It is wonderful. He is funny. It is honest. It's a good performance.
Late in the game, I saw Up, which is the voice of Ed Asner.
Yes.
But it's Ed Asner, action hero, and I'm sure he had a great time doing that.
He is one of those people, and we would always talk about William Shatner or Adam West, who now do parodies on themselves. Yeah. He does that very well. For a while, Jay Leno had a segment, Would This Impress Ed Asner? And just have him sitting in a director's chair, and you would have sword swallowers or somebody juggling, babies. And he would be over there, and he would sometimes just not react to this particular act, and it's happening just a few feet in front of him. And sometimes somebody does something, and he would genuinely be and you could generally see when he was really impressed with somebody, because his disposition would change, and it was very funny just watching him react that way. But Ed Asner, the thing about Lou Grant also, since Asner is still around, that character is relevant today. Yeah. You could, obviously he would be a retired journalist, but you could still come up with something where he would, be trying to get the story, but also have the ability to...
Would he be running the newsroom like a cable network, like on the newsroom, or would he be running a website like Vice?
I would think that if Lou Grant was still around, well, first of all, he would have to be retired at the age, but he would still have to be involved. So I would say that he would be either teaching or involved in some sort of newer format, because he would not necessarily be on the payroll.
And he would be confused by all of the new technology.
He would
hate it.
He would be running a website, or brought in to help somebody run a website, and not understand any of it, but
he'd be frustrated and fascinated at the same time.
Yeah, he would find, the fact that, you can get video on your phone as a news story probably, but I think it would be his normal journalistic instincts and what is real journalism and what is crap. I would say that's pretty much how he would. So maybe
he would be more like Mrs. Pynchon. Not quite the owner, but not quite the advisory, but sort of the...
Consultant.
The consultant.
Yeah, or just, this is the story.
Yeah.
This thing is happening, and he would be the one to tell the young web reporter, that's not the story. This is the story. This is what's going to work. This is journalism. What you're doing is crap. So, he might not ever understand the new technology. But the Lou Grant I would have loved to have seen would be like if there was a reunion movie. Also, the closing down of the LA Trib, because I imagine that if the show went on, we only have one newspaper in L.A. When that show was on, there were a couple of newspapers in L.A. And I think that...
up until a couple of weeks ago, we had two again, but then the Register folded.
Yep.
Well, there are still two.
Well, there's the Daily News.
We got the Daily News, and that's true. We got the L.A. Times.
Well, then three.
Three.
Yeah.
La Opinion.
La Pignon, yeah, true. But I remember like the days of the L.A. Times and the Herald Examiner.
Your overall point is well.
Yeah, and you being from Cincinnati, I remember they had 2 newspapers. San Francisco, how many?
At one point we had 3.
Yeah. I would think that, I mean, if I was to write a plot off the top of my head, Lou Grant comes back to the Trib during the publishing of the final paper, and they bring him back for a nostalgia piece, and he talks about maybe how he got fired eventually from the Trib, and something hits the fan in the city, and they need his wisdom, his common sense. It's because everyone's packed up and left, and what's supposed to be a nostalgia, sentimental farewell swan song turns out to be, we're going to do one more big story, and it's like all the old timers are the only ones left in the building.
Let's pitch it to Ed.
Yeah, because I would imagine Lou Grant probably would have gotten fired after the L.A. riots. He would have said the wrong thing, and Mrs. Pynchon would say, Lou, I love you, but you're gone. He would have said something, either between the L.A. riots or the Gulf War, he would have said something that would have gotten him fired.
But keep him on the payroll for in a consulting capacity.
In some consulting capacity. He would have been on...
because she would have fired him, but she knew he was too much of an asset to completely let him.
Yeah. And he would have done like Life and Times at PBS for a while and brought him back. Yeah, but I don't think that Lou Grant would have left the L.A. Tribune by being handed a gold watch by Mrs. Pynchon and going to find a shuffleboard game with his name on it. No, I think he probably would have been told to hit the brake. He got fired from WGN in Minneapolis, so I would think that
so did everybody else.
So did everyone else, which could,
except Ted.
Yeah.
who Ted Knight and Ed Asner were lifelong friends in real life.
But they disagreed on a lot of stuff.
Prior to MTM and at the very end.
They had some serious disagreements because they had very different worldviews.
Well, I believe they did have an inseparable rift because of the El Salvador situation.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. We can revisit that conversation at another time. We are wishing Ed Asner a happy 90th birthday as part of This Week in TV History. We'll take a quick time out, and we'll be back with more with Tony and Donna here on TV Confidential. Ed Robertson, along with her friend Donna Allen Figueroa, who I understand has a new book out.
Yes, it's entitled Fall Again Beginnings. It's the first part of a 4-part contemporary romantic series set against the background of working actors.
Something that you know a thing or two
about.
You
write what you know, and I have been working in the business for several years.
It is not necessarily autobiographical, but it's based on...
Sure, many of the experiences that the actors in my book have, many have happened to me, many have happened to friends of mine. It's not, if you're looking for Valley of the Dolls, it's not, it's grounded in reality.
It is grounded in reality, and it's the first in a series.
Yes.
Called the Fall Again series.
Fall Again.
Which is available as a paperback as well as an ebook and in Kindle at fallagainseries.com.
Attention sports fans, now you can watch every football game you want all season long without leaving your home with Dish for about $50 a month. Compared to your cable bill, you can save almost $600 a year. Call right now and sign up for Dish and watch every football game you want. With Dish, there are no boxes to pay, plus get free installation as soon as tomorrow if you call now. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch your favorite sports and channels on your smartphone, tablet, or laptop. Be one of the first 100 orders right now and get a free voice remote. Don't miss a single football game all year long and save a ton of money. Get a free voice remote and free installation as soon as tomorrow. But you gotta call All American Dish right now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251.
Hi, this is Titus Welliver. You're listening to TV Confidential.
Attention sports fans, now you can watch every football game you want all season long without leaving your home with Dish for about $50 a month. Compared to your cable bill, you can save almost $600 a year. Call right now and sign up for Dish and watch every football game you want. With Dish, there are no boxes to pay, plus get free installation as soon as tomorrow if you call now. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch your favorite sports and channels on your smartphone, tablet, or laptop. Be one of the first 100 orders right now and get a free voice remote. Don't miss a single football game all year long and save a ton of money. Get a free voice remote and free installation as soon as tomorrow. But you gotta call All American Dish right now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251.